What if I told you that the most powerful move you can make after a breakup isn't to chase, fight, or beg for closure, but to simply disappear? No words, no arguments, no pleading, just vanish. Now I know what you might be thinking. That sounds like giving up, doesn't it? Like you're letting go without any fight. But here's the thing, silence can often hit harder than screaming. Walking away can leave a much bigger impact than throwing punches or begging for one more chance. And the truth is, this isn't weakness, this is strategy. A strategy that high-value masculine men understand and master. You see, masculine men don't chase. They don't run after validation, attention, or approval. Instead, they know the power of stepping back, regaining control, and allowing silence to do the work for them. This is a lesson in self-respect and strength that many of us miss out on when emotions run high. Expanding on the concept. Think about it for a second. When you're emotionally invested, your first instinct might be to fix things, to explain, to somehow prove your worth. But here's the truth. The more you chase, the more you lose your power. Why? Because when you're constantly available, constantly explaining, constantly begging, you lower your value. And when you lower your value, it becomes easier for others to take you for granted. Instead, what if you decided to walk away? Not out of anger, but out of strength. What if you used your silence as a tool? When you stop chasing and simply disappear, you force the other person to feel the void you've left behind. The silence that you create in that moment becomes deafening. It's not about revenge, it's about taking control of your own emotional energy, refusing to let someone else dictate how you feel. Real life. Example. Think back to a time when you gave everything in a relationship. Your time, your loyalty, your love. You showed up, you listened, and you forgave. But in the end, you were left alone. Maybe they ghosted you or replaced you without a second thought. You might have felt devastated, like your love wasn't enough. But what if instead of texting that long paragraph or begging for another chance, you simply said nothing? Imagine how that would feel. No begging, no explanations. You don't fall into the trap of emotional chaos. You rise above it. The power of disappearing. This isn't about playing games. This is about knowing your worth. High-value men don't need to convince anyone of their value. They don't need to chase after anyone who doesn't recognize it. They understand that real strength comes from emotional control, mastering your emotions rather than letting them control you. So next time you're faced with a breakup or a tough situation where emotions are pulling you in every direction, remember this: disappear. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to walk away with dignity. Let silence be your strategy. Remember, in a world where everyone is looking for validation, the man who doesn't chase is the one who commands respect. Masculine. Men and disappearing. Let's talk about something that might sound a little counterintuitive, but trust me, it's a game changer. When a man faces heartbreak, the most powerful move he can make is not to chase after her, not to beg, not to argue, no. The real strength is in disappearing. Quietly, without a word. No explanations, no last-minute texts, no emotional breakdown. Just gone. Now I know this might sound like a tough pill to swallow. We're all told that when something or someone is important to us, we fight for it, right? We chase. We do whatever it takes to keep it in our lives. But here's the thing, true masculine energy isn't about begging for attention. It's about owning your space, knowing your worth, and having the strength to walk away when necessary. Think about it. Let's say a man has given everything, his time, his loyalty, his vulnerability. He's listened, supported, been there through thick and thin. But in the end, she leaves. She walks away. What does he do? Does he chase? Does he send that long message begging for a second chance? No, he disappears. And that's where the power shifts. He doesn't chase her back. Instead, he walks away, shifts the dynamic, and leaves her with nothing but the silence he created. And let me tell you, that silence hits harder than any argument or plea could. Silence over anger. Here's a thought. When you're hurt, your first instinct might be to react emotionally, right? You want to shout. You want to express how much you've been hurt, maybe even demand an explanation. But what if I told you that your silence is much more powerful than any angry outburst? When a man stays silent in the face of hurt, That's where his true strength lies. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. It's knowing that your emotions don't control you. When you react with anger, you're playing into the other person's hands. They know what to expect. But when you stay silent, you create a void. A void that the other person will start to fill with questions, regret, and curiosity. The truth is, silence is magnetic. It makes people wonder. They begin to second-guess their actions. They might wonder why you're not reacting, why you're not chasing, why you're not begging. And that's when the power shifts back to you. So next time you're faced with a breakup or a tough situation, remember this. Don't fight for someone who isn't fighting for you. Let your silence speak for you. Let that silence be your strength, your power. Because the man who knows when to disappear doesn't need to say a word. The absence itself speaks volumes. Conclusion. Remember, masculine men don't chase. They don't beg. They know their worth. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is step away, leave the emotions behind, and let your absence make the loudest statement. The importance of stoicism and dark psychology. Let's dive deeper into something that can completely change the way you handle pain, something that high-value masculine men know well but is often misunderstood by the majority. When it comes to heartbreak, most people think the answer is to dwell on the pain, keep reliving the hurt, and seek closure. But let me tell you something. Heartbreak is not your enemy. It's a lesson. Imagine this. You've been through the emotional roller coaster of a breakup, the sleepless nights, the endless what-ifs, the feeling of betrayal. Now you have two choices. You can either let that pain control you, drown in it, and become a victim of your emotions. Or you can use that pain as fuel to evolve into a stronger version of yourself. This is where Stoicism comes into play. One of the core principles of Stoic philosophy is that you must control your emotions, not let them control you. Emotions, like anger, sadness, or grief, are natural, but they shouldn't dictate your actions or decisions. When a masculine man faces heartbreak, he doesn't seek closure. He doesn't need to get an explanation or a last word. Instead, he chooses to evolve beyond the pain, to rise above it. It's not about avoiding or suppressing emotions. It's about mastering them. Think about the times in your life when emotions have driven you to make decisions you later regretted. Maybe you sent that long, emotional text begging for someone to come back, or you spent hours trying to make sense of something that was never meant to make sense. We've all been there. But a true masculine man doesn't let those emotions dictate his next move. He chooses peace over chaos, stillness over reaction, and this is where dark psychology steps in. It's not as sinister as it sounds. It's simply the mastery of absence, indifference, and emotional control. When you become emotionally untouchable, when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself or beg for respect, you step into a power that no one can take away from you. Imagine this. The more you remove yourself from the emotional chaos, the more your presence, your absence really, becomes a powerful statement. You don't need to argue, you don't need to explain why you deserve respect. By mastering emotional detachment, you become a man who is not swayed by external circumstances. You become untouchable. This, my friend, is the power that comes from controlling your emotions and learning from heartbreak. It's not about playing games or being cold. It's about knowing your worth, controlling your responses, and letting your actions speak louder than any words ever could. Conclusion. Remember, every painful moment is an opportunity to grow. A true masculine man doesn't get stuck in the hurt. He uses it to evolve, to become stronger, and to move beyond what others can do to him. Heartbreak is just a lesson, not a life sentence. It's time to rise, learn, and move forward with power and grace. Key principles for moving on after heartbreak. Feel it once, never again. We've all been there, heartbroken, lost, and feeling like the world is collapsing around us. The pain feels endless, and in those moments it's tempting to stay in that space of hurt, to keep reliving the memories and wondering where things went wrong. But here's a truth that can completely change the way you handle heartbreak. Feel it once, never again. Pain is part of life. It's a natural reaction when someone we care about walks away or when something we thought was permanent crumbles. But here's the thing. Staying in that pain doesn't serve you. Dwell on it long enough, and it becomes a prison. You don't need to keep replaying that heartbreak over and over in your mind. You need to feel it, acknowledge it, and then let it go. Think about it. Every time you revisit the pain, it's like reopening a wound that hasn't had time to heal. It doesn't help. It only prolongs the suffering. Instead, what if you allowed yourself to feel it once, fully, then gave yourself permission to move on? That's where the real power lies. The first step in healing is to face the hurt head-on, but the second step is to stop letting it control you. What's the lesson here? It's about learning from the experience. Heartbreak can teach you about yourself, about what you need from relationships, about your boundaries, and about what truly matters to you. Don't let the past define you. Use it to propel you forward. Pain doesn't last forever, unless you keep it alive in your mind. So the next time you feel the sting of disappointment, allow yourself to feel it, acknowledge it, and then let it pass. Don't hold on to it any longer than necessary. Because, in the end, the goal isn't to avoid pain. It's to use it to grow and become a stronger version of yourself. Conclusion. Feel your pain, learn from it, but don't let it control your life. It's a choice to move on, and that choice is what will shape your future. Let go of the past, embrace the lesson, and step into your power. You are stronger than any pain you go through. Silence over performance. Let's be honest. When we're disrespected or hurt, the first instinct is often to react. We want to shout, to defend ourselves, to prove that we didn't deserve what happened. But here's the thing. In those moments, your silence is far more powerful than any emotional outburst could ever be. Imagine being in a situation where someone disrespects you, or maybe even tries to drag you into an emotional whirlwind. What do you do? Do you react in anger, pleading your case, or do you stay silent, controlling the situation with your calm and composure? The masculine man knows this secret. Silence is power. Instead of getting caught in the emotional chaos, he remains unshaken. He doesn't need to explain himself or justify his actions. His silence speaks louder than any argument. When you don't react, when you don't perform for others, you leave them wondering why you're not reacting the way they expected. And that's when the power dynamic shifts. Think about the last time someone tried to provoke you or get a reaction. If you stayed silent, didn't feed into the drama, didn't give them the emotional satisfaction they were seeking, what happened? Chances are, the other person was left with nothing to latch onto. Silence creates a psychological void, and that void is often filled with regret, confusion, and even respect. Conclusion. Remember, your emotional energy is powerful. Don't waste it on unnecessary performance. Stay calm, stay composed, and let your silence speak volumes. When you master this, you control the narrative, not them. Stop explaining yourself. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt the need to explain yourself over and over again? Maybe you're trying to justify your actions, your choices, or even your feelings to someone who just isn't getting it. But here's a powerful truth. Stop explaining yourself. When you find yourself constantly pleading or justifying your worth to someone who's already made up their mind, you're only lowering your value. Think about it. When someone truly respects you, they don't need you to explain why you matter. They can see your worth without you saying a word. In fact, the more you explain, the more you diminish your position. Why? Because the moment you start justifying yourself to someone, you're giving away your power. You're saying, I need your approval to feel good about who I am. And that's exactly what high-value individuals don't do. They don't seek validation from others. Their value is inherent and they know it. So what do you do instead? You simply stop explaining. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone who isn't willing to see it. Trust that the right people will recognize it, and those who don't are not worth your time. Conclusion. Stop lowering your value by trying to explain yourself to those who don't get it. Your worth isn't up for debate, and the moment you stop explaining is the moment you take control of your life. Know your value, stand firm in it, and let others either respect it or move on. The law of indifference. Here's a truth that might be hard to accept, but it's incredibly powerful. Don't Chase, don't hate. Just stop caring. Let me explain. When someone pulls away or disrespects you, what's the typical reaction? You might feel the urge to chase after them, to fix things, or to prove them wrong. On the other hand, you might be tempted to hate them, to hold on to anger and resentment. But neither of these reactions will serve you in the long run. The real strength lies in indifference. When you stop caring about what others think, how they treat you, or whether they approve of you, you reclaim your power. Indifference shifts the power dynamic, because now you're no longer emotionally invested in their actions. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability is a trait that commands respect. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how someone who doesn't need to constantly explain themselves or seek approval is much more intriguing? Their confidence doesn't come from external validation. It comes from the simple fact that they don't care what others think. This is the essence of indifference, not being cold or dismissive, but simply choosing not to let the world dictate your emotions. Conclusion: indifference doesn't mean you stop caring about yourself or others. It means you stop allowing others' behavior to control your emotions. By practicing indifference, you gain control, and that control makes you unpredictable. And when you're unpredictable, you become untouchable. Reflect, don't chase. When someone disrespects you or pulls away from you, what's your first instinct? Is it to chase them, to prove that you're worth their time, to show them you still care? Or is it to pause, reflect, and reevaluate the situation? Here's something you may not want to hear, but it's crucial. Treat bad behavior with distance, not tolerance. Chasing after someone who treats you poorly only reinforces that behavior. When you tolerate disrespect, you're sending the message that you're okay with being treated like that. But when you create distance, you set a boundary. You show that you will not be disrespected, and you won't tolerate poor treatment. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you let someone's bad behavior slide, hoping it would get better or thinking that maybe they'd change? The truth is, people don't change until the consequences of their actions become uncomfortable. By continuing to chase or tolerate their behavior, you're actually enabling them to keep treating you badly. Instead, take a step back, reflect on the situation. Ask yourself, is this behavior something I want to accept in my life? Is this person contributing to my growth, or are they draining my energy? Conclusion: by reflecting instead of chasing, you gain control over your life. You teach others how to treat you by setting boundaries, not by tolerating disrespect. Distance gives you clarity, and clarity gives you power. So next time you face bad behavior, remember, distance is your power. Build your fortress. We all know that heartbreak can be crushing. It's one of the hardest emotions to face, and it can leave you feeling completely vulnerable. But here's something powerful you might not have considered. Use that heartbreak as motivation to build your fortress. What do I mean by that? Instead of letting the pain consume you, turn it into fuel for something bigger and better. Heartbreak is a powerful teacher, but only if you choose to learn from it. This is your chance to rebuild yourself stronger than ever. Use the pain to focus on what really matters: your growth, your goals, and your future. Think about it: when we experience a setback or a deep emotional wound, it's easy to let it define us. It can feel like it will never end. But the truth is, you don't have to stay stuck in that place. Instead, focus on yourself. Hit the gym, start that project you've been putting off, dive into learning something new, or make positive changes in your life. You have the power to turn your pain into progress. As you build your fortress, whether that's physical strength, mental resilience, or personal success, you become untouchable. You're no longer defined by the pain you've gone through, but by the strength you've gained from overcoming it. Conclusion: heartbreak doesn't have to be the end. It can be the beginning of your strongest chapter. Use the energy of your hurt to grow, to become better, and to create a life so powerful that nothing can knock you down. Your fortress is built with the bricks of your struggles, and each one makes you stronger. So take that first step, turn your pain into your power. Never break no contact. We've all been there, feeling the urge to reach out, to send that message, to call them just to check in or get a little closure. But here's a powerful truth that you might not want to hear. Breaking no contact shows weakness. When someone walks away, it can feel like you're losing a part of yourself. The temptation to break that silence, to reopen communication, can be overwhelming. But let me ask you, what does that really accomplish? You give away your power. You make yourself emotionally available to someone who may not deserve your time, and that's a dangerous game. No contact isn't a tactic or a way to play games. It's a boundary you set for yourself to protect your peace and reclaim your strength. The longer you maintain that silence, the more the other person will feel the absence of your presence. They may not realize it right away, but when you break no contact, you give them a sense of closure they don't deserve, and more importantly, you show them that you're still emotionally affected by their actions. Silence and distance are your strength. They make the other person question their choices, wonder why you're not chasing them, and most importantly, regret their actions. The longer you maintain your distance, the stronger your position becomes, and when they eventually come back, you'll be in a completely different place. You'll be stronger, more focused, and less dependent on their validation. Conclusion. So next time you're tempted to reach out, remember, your silence speaks volumes. Don't break no contact. Let it show your strength, your emotional sovereignty. Silence is your power, and the distance you create is your control. Let them regret their actions. Let her sit with her decision. One of the hardest things to do after someone walks away is to resist the urge to fix things. It's natural to want to make things right, to convince them to come back, to show them how much you care. But here's something important you need to remember. Don't make it easier for her to regret her decision. When someone chooses to leave, it's their decision. And while it's painful, it's not your responsibility to soften the blow for them. You've already shown your worth, and if they couldn't recognize it, that's on them, not you. Now it's time for them to sit with the consequences of their choice. Think about it. When you keep going back, trying to comfort them or make things right, you erase the lesson they need to learn. They'll never understand the weight of their decision if you keep making it easy for them to come back into your life. Let them feel what it's like to lose someone who was there for them, someone who genuinely cared. That's when they'll begin to understand the true value of what they had. You don't need to beg for someone's attention. You don't need to prove your worth again and again. Let her sit with her decision. The space you create, the distance you maintain, will force her to reflect on what she's truly lost. Conclusion. Remember, your value doesn't decrease because someone else doesn't recognize it. By letting her experience the consequences of leaving, you're teaching her a lesson about respect, about boundaries, and about what it means to lose someone who was truly worthy. Let her sit with it. Let her feel it. It's not your job to make it easier for her. It's your job to focus on your own growth and move forward stronger than ever. They always come back. But you're already gone. Here's a harsh truth, but one that needs to be said. They always come back, but by the time they do, you've already moved on. Think about it. When someone walks away from you, it's easy to fall into the trap of wondering, will they come back? Did I make a mistake? Should I wait? But here's the power in moving on. When you stop waiting, when you focus on your own growth, that's when they start realizing what they've lost. You've heard it before, right? People don't value something until it's gone. And the moment you stop chasing, stop hoping, and start focusing on your own life, that's when they'll look back and wonder, what happened? They'll start to feel the absence you've created. And that's when they'll come knocking on your door. But here's the catch. When they come back, you've already moved on. You've built yourself up. You've grown stronger, and you're no longer the same person they once knew. You've evolved, and that's the version of you they're now facing. And when they return, don't respond out of bitterness. Don't. Let your ego drive your decisions. If they come back, it's not because they're sorry. It's because they miss what they lost. Don't fall for that. You don't need to prove anything to them. You've already proven your worth through your actions and your ability to move forward. Conclusion. So remember, let them come back if they will. But by the time they do, you've already built a life that doesn't revolve around them. You've moved on, and that's where your true power lies. Don't let their return make you question your progress. You're better than that. Keep moving forward, because the person you are now is worth far more than anything they could ever offer. Disappear. Like a god. Here's a concept that may seem dramatic, but it holds real power: disappear like a god. Now, I'm not talking about vanishing, to play games or to punish someone. The masculine man doesn't disappear out of spite. He disappears to protect himself, to reclaim his peace, and to show that his value doesn't need to be explained or validated by anyone else. Think about it. In a world where everyone is fighting for attention, the man who knows when to step back becomes unforgettable. When you choose to disappear, not to hurt anyone, but to prioritize your own well-being, that absence leaves an impact. It creates space for growth, for reflection, and for the kind of clarity that can't be found in the noise of constant drama and conflict. This isn't about running away from problems. It's about choosing peace over chaos, and sometimes the best way to get what you want is by creating distance. When you leave, without making a scene, without explaining yourself, you force the other person to look at their own choices, their own behavior, and often, that's when they start to realize what they had, what they lost. Conclusion: when you disappear like a god, your absence becomes legendary. You don't need to announce your exit. Your actions speak louder than words ever could. So, if you want to leave a lasting impact, stop chasing, stop explaining, and step into your power by knowing when to walk away. Because in the end, it's your absence that will make them remember you, not your presence. Conclusion: in the world we live in today, it's easy to think that chasing someone or begging for their attention means you care or that it's the right thing to do. But here's the truth: masculine men don't chase, they disappear. Now, don't mistake this for avoiding responsibility or playing games. It's not about punishment. It's about emotional control and knowing your worth. The masculine man understands that emotional strength lies in detachment. When he walks away, it's not because he doesn't care. It's because he values himself enough not to beg for someone's time, love, or validation. His absence becomes the message. This strategy, while subtle, leaves a lasting impact. It shifts the power dynamic. When you stop chasing, when you stop reacting emotionally, that's when you show true strength. You teach others how to treat you, not by pleading or explaining yourself, but by setting boundaries and respecting your own emotional peace. Emotional strength isn't about hiding from pain. It's about rising above it, learning from it, and moving forward with a sense of purpose. Whether it's heartbreak or difficult relationships, Stoic principles teach us that we have control over how we respond. And when you respond with grace, strength, and silence, you become untouchable. If you found value in this, and if you're ready to embrace the power of emotional control and the Stoic way of living, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another video. Let's keep growing together on this journey to becoming the best version of ourselves. This is Inner Stoic Voice. Stay strong, stay calm, and keep evolving.